miss anything, man. We're recording this from the beginning.
John just started to record right when I hopped on the fucking call.
Yep. No warning.
God,
no warnings today.
You're insane.
Instant off-roading.
Yeah, seriously. So, I am a few minutes late to this because I had to watch episode 5 of Foundation this morning.
Don't say anything. And
it was really cool how I honestly thought the love scene between Captain Kirk and Darth Vader was really tastefully done.
Spoiler alert.
Lots of intentional eye contact, which you would be surprised at because of the helmet, but, you know...
Yeah.
It was really special when he removed it for Kirk.
He only does that for people he really likes.
Do you think Darth Vader fucks?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what is that?
Totally.
Like really, though? Like, do you think he's just is like, hey... So do you think he's just like, I'd like to see Vader, like, wine and dining people. Like, hey, come back to my castle on Mustafar. Like, what does it look like for Vader to be romantic?
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't think I'm supposed to be talking about any of these things. We're supposed to talk about something like a monster podcast or something.
Well, this is episode 6.
Yeah, what are we doing, John? What's going on?
We made it. So we've had 5 episodes. We decided to do 2 seasons a year to kind of break things up. Part of that is because Kevin, our very talented illustrator, does something called Drawloween every October. And so every single day during the month of October, he, along with a really cool community of illustrators, draw a monster based off of a list that they share collectively. So he's a little bit tied up drawing things, and we decided for this month to be sort of a nice midway point for us to do a little bit of a wrap-up and talk about the past 5 monsters.
And
the guests that were on the show.
And so Kevin's our illustrator, and he is killing it in this Halloween project. My favorite is Moon Goon. I don't know if
that one's really
you've
good.
seen Moon Goon. I really recommend everybody please go check out Kevin's Instagram. It's just Kevin Tudball. It's KEVINTUDBALL. Check out his illustrations. He has a ton on there. Just some fantastic stuff. I'm actually looking at it right now. So, yeah.
I think he just posted the X-Ray Kid today.
Yeah.
I think that one's my favorite so far.
X-Ray Kid's fucking great. I love the eyes.
Yeah.
I also love the Mushroom Boy.
He's just a ball. He's a Kevin Tudd ball of talent.
He is. Fun Gus. Day 6 is Fun Gus.
That one's good. Yeah.
Well, it's Fungus. I'm pronouncing it Fungus from Kipo and the Wonder Beasts.
Nice.
It's like a cartoon about among many things, irradiated monsters, and there's this fungus called Fungus, and he's just this fungus that with a big smile. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted, so please go look at Kevin's stuff. And while he's tied up, John and I are going to chat about Darth Vader's sexual we are going to talk about the other monsters we've encountered so far.
Yes. And we're leading to something really awesome that we will unveil at the end of this episode, which you will probably have seen the illustration for. But basically...
Darth Vader's other helmet.
Yes, Darth Vader's weekend helmet.
Yeah, there it is.
It's Hawaiian print.
Ooh!
Yeah. So basically, we have all these really interesting monsters that Kevin has been illustrating, that we've been developing for each of these episodes. But our guests are pretty amazing themselves. And so we've decided to collectively come up with a monster slayer that basically represents all the guests from each season. And so the one that we've come up with is Sølver. And basically the concept that as a designer, we're really just problem solvers. That's what we do. And we're creatively solving problems. And that can really span through a number of different fields. And as a problem solver, you have to work your way through these design monsters to get your job done well and be a happy, balanced person. And so our guests have really done a great job of showing us how to do that. And so we've created this Norse god dual hammer wielding solver.
He solves it all.
He does.
So like looking back on our previous monsters, which constitutes our season 1 so far, how do you think Sølver's gonna tackle something like scope creep?
Scope creep. Well, we had Cheryl Isaacson, film director, our very first guest, and the monster was scope creep. And this Sølver monster slayer did a really great job of actually teaching us how to slay, tame, and
which
love
is a
monsters.
Cheryl Isaacson original phrase.
Yep.
Trademarked.
Yep.
Anytime you see slay, tame, love, that came from Cheryl's brain. Her, and she gave it to the Sølver, and the Sølver put it in his, monster slayer tool belt. Yep. And so basically, the way that this happened was first understanding, what's going on and taking down the concept of what a scope creep is. Basically the idea of, when we're working on a project and the client comes to us and they say, hey, we actually need to do a lot more. And we start to get this anxiety and we start to feel uncomfortable with the fact that this project is growing. We weren't ready for it. It's not a fun place to be. But if we start to make sense of that, we start to tame that monster, then we realize, oh, you know what? This is probably just the client being really happy with what we're doing. And so they want to do more. And so once we have that realization, Cheryl taught us that, there are a lot of really cool ways we can actually proceed with that and give them options and echo that enthusiasm and excitement for us to do more work, to solve more problems. And, a lot of us have probably come up against that and have probably done a great job of doing that. But there are, I think, some of us that are new to that concept. And I know that for myself, when I was first getting started, that can be really scary. And you don't know what to do because you think in your head, I have to do more work for the same price. Exactly. Or I have to do more work within the same amount of time. And it doesn't have to be that way. I think there's some freedom there to push past that. One of the things I really appreciated about our chat with Cheryl is she was sort of outlining, okay, well, this is how you create a ceiling for the current contract or project you're on. And if the work exceeds that ceiling, there is a system in place where the client can get more work and you can get paid more. Get paid for the additional work. Whereas, especially when I was starting out, so much of the sting of scope creep was just exactly what you said, doing more work for the same price.
Yep.
And so Sølver, our Viking Norse boy, takes a hammer to that. He's like, listen, I wish I knew a Norse word. I would say, like, listen, guy. I think I have Norse blood in me, so like
so this should be a little bit more natural, but unfortunately
it's just I'm just like anyways, so
but the hippie Santa Cruzian brain that you might have right now
is like hey man,
you got Friday brain.
I do have Friday. I have John just pressed record. But our Sølver.
And on Tuesday, I was basically like, "Hey, Brian, we're going to record something on Friday. FYI, heads up."
Yeah, he is. Jesus Christ, this guy. So, yeah, but I do like how our Sølver is like, listen, he gives us a warrior's shield, and the warrior's shield protects us from scope creep.
He's a big dude. He gets out in front of these monsters for us.
And he's barrel chested. He's like thick. He's a thick boy.
Yeah, he's Thorish. He's very Thorish.
But not.
He's hulkish. He's actually more.
I was gonna say he's not like Chris Hemsworth. No. Like, leave that Abercrombie. As much as I personally appreciate all 6 of his packs,
but he's the strongest Avenger apparently. Hulk thinks the same thing. So
yeah, Captain Marvel will slay them both. But so there's a great Thor rendition from the people doing God of War 2, and Thor is like a thick man, and
I still haven't played 1.
Well,
I've never played
we
God of
all
War.
have our
I
character defects, John, and
soon.
I actually want to replay that. I've been knee deep in other games, but are you playing any games right now, John? Besides throwing me on this call?
I am playing Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, how are you enjoying that?
You're the one that was like, dude.
Oh, I did do that. It is amazing.
And I absolutely love it. It is so much fun. I can't believe I haven't had PlayStation for a long time. Until you graciously gave me your old PlayStation when you got your new PlayStation.
I moved.
Much appreciated.
I broke up with that model and started dating a sexier model. I have a PlayStation 5. So when you think about Horizon Zero Dawn, what's a favorite thing that like comes to your mind about?
Well, I think the overall story is super interesting. The fact that it feels futuristic and tribal at the same time, I think is really amazing. The world is really fun. It's beautifully crafted, and that's always my favorite thing, because I'm not the big like, okay, I need to like play this on the hardest whatever, and I'm gonna go rush into every battle and fight. Like, I just like navigating through the story. I'm always like the sniper person because I like just like calm, chill like gameplay. I love that you can program these digital beasts and override them and ride around the world on them. I also love like how many monsters, like these digital beasts there are, and you really have to, mechanical monsters that you can't just like blast through. Like, you really have to like go a few yards, look around, make sure you're safe, handle your business, and then keep moving. I think that's really fun.
It is.
I like that.
It's great. It's one of the things I love about that game is it made the apocalypse beautiful. So often, so often we when we think of apocalypse stories, we think of these wastelands and these desolate ruins, and Horizon Zero Dawn's like, yeah, but what if it was beautiful? What if all those ruins had greenery and flowers and years and years of growth? It's great. Okay, so sorry, that was my aside. Who's our next monster?
What was our second episode?
Egomaniac?
Yeah. Egomaniac. So who was our guest for that, bro?
Oh, that was Kevin Tudball.
Yes.
Who,
the one and only.
You may have heard of him.
From like 3 minutes ago.
Actually, yes, exactly. Yeah, I love that episode. It was great because we kind of had a conversation around, yes, there's client ego, but there's also our ego. And I thought it was, particularly helpful and insightful to just like dig down and like, okay, well, how the fuck are we getting in our own way as problem solvers, and as artists as well. So our monster for that is this dude with a giant fucking head. The head is so big it's just dragging it on the floor.
It just drags it.
So our solver comes along with his hammer and just knocks that head right off the floor and
knock some sense.
Knock some sense into him. That's exactly.
Yeah,
that's exactly.
Right. Some humility.
He has some sense in his utility belt.
His hammer of humility.
Yes. And just he does it, and rights his little head.
And I think what's cool about this monster too, and why we wanted to do it as our second episode, not just because it was Kevin, but we really wanted to double down on the concept that these monsters are not clients, and they're not even us or our coworkers. They are these demons that are hovering around us, little foreshadowing to the next monster, and they are causing us to not do our best work. And so, we're never trying to bring anybody down at all. If anything, we're trying to empower people in a way that not only shows us how to slay, tame, love these monsters, but separate them from us. We don't have to be the bad guy. Our clients aren't the bad guy. There are these forces that are working against us at times, but there are a lot of really awesome ways that we can solve these problems.
Yeah. This is kind of a fun question to think about, and we can delete this, what I'm about to ask. But, and maybe I should have asked this for for Scope Creep as well. If we were to look at any pop culture characters, who would you say is plagued by the egomaniac demon? I'm thinking Loki.
Yeah.
That he
Loki for sure.
He battles some of his demons.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's what the show's about, right?
Yeah. The show, yeah.
It's literally like about his ego and his, he's a megalomaniac.
He is.
Egomaniac. Ooh. Oh, that was the other point I wanted to make on that too. Egomaniac was a good one for us to use to make that point that this stuff is outside of who we are, because in a way, like, designers probably deal with ego much more than our clients, because it's really easy for us to just be like, yeah, we're awesome, we make really cool looking things, we make really badass products, or write some cool words, but that's not really the point. The point is to solve problems. I think there was something that we retweeted recently from Erica Hall about, designers really need to understand business problems, essentially, in paraphrasing. But that's something that we need to solve for, business problems. And that might not be the most cool, slick, interesting thing, but when it really plays out and we design for those things that we really need to design for, we can really only do that when ego is just out of the picture. But the solutions always look so amazing. And they come in interesting places, she tweets throughout her feed about how well-designed Craigslist is, because it hasn't changed. It's what it is. It's always been what it is. It's stayed the same.
It's
people use it all the time. It works. It's good design. It's not maybe the most pretty, but
John,
it is pretty.
John, I'm saying right now, if they move the missed connections page in Craigslist, society might, in fact, really...
It might crumble. We might enter into Horizon Zero.
I will crumble. How else am I going to try to find that hot man that I saw on Pacific Avenue the other day, tripping balls and ejecting a little too much spittle from his mouth as he danced?
Yeah. Are you describing the egomaniac?
No, I'm describing my misconnection. I think we had a connection.
Is that what we're going to use these podcast episodes for?
To find a husband for Ryan? Yeah.
Yep.
If you feel like... Yeah. Let me put my party Darth Vader helmet on.
Ready to go.
Okay, so then...
Friday Vader.
So...
Hashtag Friday Vader.
Yeah. So our next monster that we slayed, we did so with the help of Chelsea Kinley. We slayed the Hoverer, Chelsea Kinley is an amazing, amazing visual artist. Gonna have to plug her shit again because she's just incredible.
Her paintings are phenomenal.
Dude, so please check it out. She's Chelsea Kinley. Her Instagram handle is Chelsea, CHELSEA, Kinley, KINLEY. It's been amazing watching her do art. And yeah, she really freaking lent us a hand in dealing with the Hoverer, who is inspired by my favorite kaiju, King Ghidorah. One of my favorite, this 3-headed dragon dude. I think one of the things that I resonated most with Chelsea's solve for the Hoverer was focusing on empathetic communication and just being like, yo, this is where I'm at, and taking these steps on, like, how do you prevent somebody just like, or not prevent, but like, how do you create space?
Well, yeah,
I don't know, like creating space for, like, maybe we don't need as many lurkers in Figma and Google Docs and all that. And like,
yeah, and I think it's sort of twofold. Like, how do you work in a way where you can sort of proactively prevent that situation from happening again? You know, it's not the sort of, you know, design leader, client, creative director, whoever. It's not them who are necessarily the hoverer, but they're sort of being, you know, possessed by that monster. How do you proactively avoid that? But also, how do you sort of embrace it? And part of the conversation was about understanding where that comes from. And the reason why I even was like, hey, Chelsea, do you want to be on this episode? Is because Chelsea and I work together at the same agency called Y Media Labs, or YML abbreviated. And it's a digital product agency. And we have been working together on some things. And I'm pretty sure there were some moments where I was sort of hovering over her. And we unpacked that in the way that, you know, during the pandemic, we're all working remote. I was hovering in Figma, and I'm sure a lot of you out there have experienced that, where, you know, you're pushing pixels and moving some things around and you see all these cursors kind of come in. And when you know it's like someone really high up and their cursor's right next to you, it feels like someone is over your shoulder hovering. And, you know, there were times where we were collaborating, but I probably like overstepped and like moved things around after she was moving them around. And I'm sure that wasn't fun. And so I thought it would be good to have her on, because I was looking to hear, you know, what is this like? I'm a lead designer. And so I want to make sure if I'm helping provide any sort of leadership on projects, that I understand what designers are going through and what it feels like to be hovered, because that's going to help me do a better job. But I also think that what she talks about offers up some really great advice to people who are feeling hovered over, and what they can do to sort of enter into a more positive, collaborative environment. And at the end of the day, she basically just says, like, you know, this solver monster comes out, and that solver monster is
Slayer.
Empathy. Monster Slayer, sorry, yes. The problem solver, Monster Slayer, is just wielding empathy and understanding both sides. You know, that has to be the environment that you're working in, because then you can just kind of work however. You know, you can see those Figma cursors coming in. If there's an understanding that everybody's here to just collaborate, and it's more of a conversation, it's not a one-way street. And she does a great job of unpacking that for us.
When I think of hovers in pop culture, I want to go Marvel again, but I don't want to be tedious. So what I'm gonna say is the Vampire Council and What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, I just started watching the new season.
Oh,
so good.
Dude, just like a bunch of just robed vampires, hooded.
So fucking funny, man.
What's your favorite Nandor line, John?
It's Nandor. Whenever he gets a little peeved by someone, he just lets out the classic fucking guy. And I lose it every time he says that. You know, there was how I fell into this show too. it was about a year ago or so, and I had never watched it. And my wife went out of town for like almost a week. And it's just me at home, chilling with our 2 dogs, 2 cats, not much human contact, especially during the pandemic. And I just binged this show, and they, no joke, like they became my friends.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to hang out with them, and it like gave me so much company. And so now every time I watch it, there's this like comfort that comes with it, and I just laugh, like literally like every line I'm just cracking up by myself.
They're your buds.
And it's the best. They're my buds.
I do want to hang out with them. Like for those who don't know, What We Do in the Shadows is a spin-off television show of the movie What We Do in the Shadows, directed by Taika Waititi and written by Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement. Jermaine Clement. Anyways, that last fella, Jermaine Clement, show runs this show, and it's essentially The Office but vampires. And it's just fucking hilarious, and it follows a group of vampires just trying to make it in the big city. And
you know what? They're just trying to hold their own.
It's so funny.
Make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
Staten Island? Is that what it is?
Yeah, is it Staten Island? Yeah.
Is that where it takes place?
Yeah.
We need a fact checker on these episodes.
I know.
Something like that.
But
it's hilarious. Yeah. One of them is an energy vampire, for those of you who haven't watched it, and he's a pretty amazing character. We actually thought that like that could potentially be a monster of design. We have some ideas for a vampire related monster. Might not be that, but he's an interesting character in there.
We all know.
Give it a try.
Dude, we've all experienced being an energy vampire. Sorry, we've experienced an energy vampire, and honestly, I have felt like an energy vampire sometimes with people when I start talking about Star Trek. And people are like, Jesus, this fucking guy. Like,
depends on the crowd, man.
Depends on the crowd.
I'm all ears. We could talk about the science behind spore drives all day, and I would be a happy camper.
Dude, it's great.
By the way, when does that? Let's just keep going down that tangent for one more second. When does
Star Trek Discovery? Star Trek Discovery comes back. Out? Season 4 drops November 18th.
Dude, I can't wait.
So fucking ready.
Yeah.
For Star Trek Discovery. Disco.
Seriously,
as we call it.
It's like one of the best Star Treks out there, in my opinion. I mean, it's hard to say like it's better than like Next Gen or whatever, but it's different. It's wildly different than Next Gen, and it is like the perfect evolution of Star Trek into something just so cinematic, sci-fi to the T. It's just
and gay.
It's
as a gay
brilliant.
Dude who grew up with Star Trek, man, I appreciate the amount of queer characters on that show, and they're just
totally.
And Star Trek's great because it's all about folks solving problems. It's not necessarily about spaceship battles and big, stuff like that, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but I freaking love Star Trek because it celebrates people's capacity to solve problems collaboratively as well, which I think is hugely important. It's freaking great.
It also, I think, does a good job of painting the picture that when you have a very diverse set of people, the problem-solving capacity exponentially increases.
Yep.
And I think that's really cool. And what's neat about the nature of something sci-fi is that it's not only on like that personal level, like the human experience, the diversity within human experience, but within alien experience. Because we think, there's certain divisions that we have as a culture, but those divisions would exist between different species on different planets. So it really has to pull in people from all across the universe and the galaxy and everything. So it's pretty amazing, when it shows that, because it's like if we could do it there, then we can do it as a human species, and it's so uplifting and encouraging.
And in Star Trek Discovery, the USS Discovery runs on mushrooms. So everybody just that should be enough for you. It's a spore drive. It's great.
I'm pushing for some company, Ernie Ball, whoever, to make a pedal called the Spore Drive, because I think that would be amazing, and I think Star Trek fans are definitely, very much part of the music scene.
That'd be sick.
I would buy that pedal.
Fuck yeah.
I want to see a Spore Drive pedal. So if anybody out there's listening who works for some company that makes guitar pedals, please make Jon the Spore Drive pedal. I will buy it.
Do it.
Thank you.
So,
end of PSA.
So episode 4, we tackled Burnout with the help of Emily Shao.
Yes.
Burnout. That is one we have encountered a lot in the past.
It is a very destructive fire-setting monster.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We can all relate with it. I mean, this is just widespread. This is definitely not just design, but it's a term that we use in design a lot because it's really easy for us, especially in this remote world, to put in those overtime hours, to work those weekends, to not stand up for ourselves and say, I gotta clock out at this time today.
Yeah.
Or I just can't work the weekend. It's gonna crush me. Or if you just have to push through something because that's what the team's doing, and they're like, you know what, we're gonna push through this, then to just be honest and say, I need some time off. I need some days. I need to recoup. Things that you can do throughout your day, going for walks. I mean, Emily just gives us so many different things that maybe we've thought of, but I think she really gives us permission. And that comes from someone who's a brand design manager. Yep. I think she even got promoted.
Oh, did she?
Too, which I'm pretty sure. I don't know what the title is, but she's the kind of person that she kills it. I worked with her. We were both art directors at a company called Mindbody. Health and wellness service booking app, and she was so awesome to work with, and I think we really became good friends through that experience because we love our job, we love doing what we do, but I think we also knew we had to kind of stand up for ourselves and make sure that we didn't burn out, and that was just like a constant thing because we loved our job so much. It wasn't necessarily it was always someone saying, you got to work late or whatever. We just wanted to put in the extra effort. And I think that's another thing we need to be aware of too, that the extra effort sometimes isn't more hours behind the computer. The extra effort is taking care of yourself because the work's going to be better for it,
Yes, exactly. And it's often difficult too, because I know for me, I get locked in these cycles where I think the solution is to work more. Especially if I'm trying to solve a particular problem, when often the best solution is to actually step away and rest and do something. Because when you're doing that, your subconscious is working. The ability to step away from the work re-energizes you and increases your capacity to solve that problem, I think. And when I'm thinking about like the epitome of burnout, I think Dobby the House Elf, who is a victim of burnout. And do you know what? Sometimes, y'all, we just need somebody to give us a sock so we can just not. Totally.
If you're a Dobby, look for the Harrys. Yeah. That's what I gotta say.
Look for a hairy man. No, okay. So, anyways, just find your sock, whatever that is.
Yeah. Find your sock.
Find your sock. For me, it's lately it's been a lot of sci-fi, whether it's a game or a show. I've been rewatching Battlestar Galactica and watching Foundation, and the ability to enter into an imagined world that's not this one does kind of regenerate me. Jon,
totally.
Jon, what's something that you do to sort of get out of what's a restful regenerative activity for you?
I grew up in a very musical household. My grandma started a music store. My mom was a music teacher, and music has just always been that thing that has allowed me to really escape. I mean, it's one thing to sit down and watch some really good sci-fi and just, escape a little bit. But when I'm a very sort of I want to do something kind of person, but I'm also an introvert. And so playing music, writing music, recording music, that's my favorite. And I'm just gonna mention that the song actually is something that I made on this. Maybe I should.
Oh yeah, you should fucking no. Do you see this, everybody? So
our monster theme song is something that I
you did.
I made.
Now I
made that song.
So, John, I'm gonna toot your own horn.
No. We don't need to.
Oh, I don't need. So, oh really? You son of a fuck. And the thing is, so I don't
want to turn into an egomaniac, man.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna say this really briefly, and I'm gonna challenge you not to delete this. John is an amazing artist. Please check out an album he made under Geneseo. Is that how I pronounce that? Geneseo, Modern Fate. It's Geneseo. It is a great little album. I've listened to it a bunch. That's all I'm going to say because John is going to burst into flames from discomfort.
Thank you, sir.
So we're going to now move on to our last one, right? Which is Process with John Dillman.
Fun fact about Geneseo, because a lot of people are like, what?
Yes, please talk about it.
So next May will be my 10-year wedding anniversary with my wife, and we are very much romantics. And so we got married out in Paso Robles in California, and when you're heading up 101, you take the 46 east, and you get off at Geneseo, and that road takes you to a house where we got married. So that's...
Are you serious?
And it means beautiful valley.
Help.
So it's very much like... That's where the name Geneseo comes from, if anybody's wondering.
Oh my God, that's so fucking cute.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here, man. Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me that.
I have a new song coming out on Halloween.
What's that?
I'm going to just plug it. Now that you gave me some confidence, I'm plugging it now. It's called Help Wanted, and it's about, I think, we're going through a really tough time right now, and I need to go into it in depth, but it's hard, man. Like, a lot of people don't see eye to eye. We've been split as a country in so many ways, and this pandemic has really made a lot of that stuff harder for us to deal with. And I think as a problem solver, as a designer, I want to look for ways to do that. And the song is really just, it's called Help Wanted. I think we all need to realize that we need a little bit of help, and we need to look to each other for that. Wherever we stand on whatever the issue is, if we can start to just recognize that and be like, you know what, we don't agree, but what can we do? How can we come together on this stuff? How can we respect each other a little bit more? That's what that song's about.
Cool. And
anyways, I'm gonna stop talking because now
you're self-conscious.
Soapboxing like crazy. But
and that comes out in a few weeks, October 31st.
Yeah.
Please check out everybody. Please check out John's album. It's pretty fucking great.
Thanks.
Just click one song and you'll get the vibe, and just dive into the vibe.
Chilled out electro stuff.
I love it. I really do. It's good driving music.
So Monster number Process number 5
with John Dillman.
Yep. John Dillman, design director, Twitter. Director, product design, I think technically, but he doesn't care about titles.
And he only cares about...
Which is his nature.
Doctor Who, which is...
Yeah, he cares about Doctor Who.
Fucking great.
And he cares about process. He sees process as a way that he solves the monster, the concept known as process, is by coming at it from a perspective that is much more gray and not so black and white, which, you know what, it might be the reason why our Monster Slayer is monotone, is gray, because there's a gray area, I think, in all this stuff, and especially in process. And he actually sees it as like a Frankenstein, like Frankenstein's monster. He sees it as something that's a little bit hodgepodge that people are really afraid of, but really, the real monster is Frankenstein. And if we could just understand process and not fear it, that it would be a lot easier for us to deal with. It doesn't have to be something that's so fundamental, and it doesn't have to be something that almost feels non-existent. And it's gonna take shape. It's gonna feel hodgepodge depending on the project you're working on, and it should feel like it's something that might need to evolve as you're going through it. And so he talks about that, and he really dives into it. I mean, he's like I said, he's a design director at Twitter, and so he gets this shit inside and out. He was previously at Wayno and was an executive creative director there. I know he doesn't care about titles, but that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And then Wayno became part of Twitter. And so he's had a lot of really awesome experience. He was my manager for a short time, so I can attest to the fact that he knows what he's doing, and he's really in tune with his team and the process that team needs to take to solve problems.
Yep. And with process, I often that's one of the ones I'm constantly relearning, because process always feels like an uphill climb, and totally. Getting comfortable with that uphill climb is, for me, it's so much of the challenge. And like I said, it's not like I climbed the peak once and I was like, now I know how to do process. It's like every project, everything requires its own process. So I appreciated his insight. It was great chatting with him, talking to him about all of the process.
We struggled on naming that one for a little bit, and Jon just kept like doubling down on it. Process is scary enough. Like the word process, when we hear it, we're like, oh God, like this is going to be cumbersome. And so we just left it. We added an S because Kevin made it look a little bit like a snake. We thought that was fun, but that's why it just stayed process, because it can be scary on its own. Much like burnout in a way, that word is just what it is.
Yeah.
Those are our 5 episodes. Those are our 5 guests, and we really feel like those 5 guests have embodied this monster slayer known as Sølver, because they are, amazing problem solvers. They've helped us tackle some really great issues, some really interesting monsters, and we are really looking forward to talking to some more people in the industry. Let us know, and hit us up on Twitter. Like if you want to be on the show and you have something to say, you have a monster in mind. Honestly, let's talk, because we're excited to talk to everybody.
Yeah. We got some exciting folks coming up, so please get in line, talk to us.
Yeah.
Not get in line. We're not super popular, but like, you know what I mean. Come to us.
Start the line.
So when I think of process, I know the easy one is to go to Dr. Frankenstein. But I'm gonna have to say it, man. I'm gonna have to make this about foundation. I think process is Hari Seldon.
Ooh, I like it.
So the idea of foundation is Hari Seldon is written a mathematical equation that describes the fall of this galactic empire that's spread across thousands of systems.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no way to stop the fall of galactic civilization. You can only
mitigate.
And there's a whole process there. So I think Hari Seldon, he's my little avatar for process. I also just watched the episode. So not only did we talk about these monsters, not only did we talk about scope creep, egomaniac, the hover, burnout, and process, but we also we talked about Loki, we talked about the Vampire Council,
mm-hmm.
we talked about Dobby the House Elf, we talked about Hari Seldon. I think for scope creep, I initially said crime in Gotham City was scope creep.
That's right.
So I'm just gonna stick with that.
And Batman, is a problem solver.
Yeah.
He's a designer. Batman's a designer, I think, is what you said.
Jesus Christ, why do I think I was stoned for that episode. Anyways,
by the way, speaking of Batman, I figured out what I'm gonna do for Halloween, at least for like Zoom Halloween.
What?
Because that's a thing now, right? Like our Halloween parties are over Zoom, so check this out.
What are you gonna do?
I got a sweet Batman mask on the way.
Oh.
Like that actually drapes down like a full mask, like a head covering down to the shoulders, past the shoulders mask. And I'm going to set up a scene in my garage because video guy. I got lights and cameras and shit. Ooh. And I actually bought a smoke machine recently. My God. Fog machine. And so I'm gonna like full on set up this scene with lights. I'm gonna project something onto the back of my garage and take all my Zoom calls as Batman. I can't decide if I'm gonna create a scene to be like Gotham City
or the Batcave,
like a rooftop, or like the Batcave. I might just have to do both, but that's my Halloween costume.
That's brilliant.
Is like an immersive experience.
That is
all my Zoom calls.
I need to be on a call with you on that day.
Yeah. I think I'm just gonna set up Zoom calls with people all day so I can show it off.
I like that idea.
That'll be my day. Yeah.
I love Halloween. I need to like get cracking on it though. I was totally in this like intentional like, okay, I'm watching a lot of Mike Flanagan stuff. So I did House of Bly Manor. I had seen Hill House.
God, so good.
And then Midnight Mass. So good. So I was like, okay, that's like my way of entering into the spooky vibes. And then I got derailed with sci-fi, so I need to go back. I think I'm going to go watch Halloween Kills this weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do for Halloween. I think I want to go trick-or-treating, but like I'm 32, so haven't figured out a solution there. I also don't really like, I'm not going to eat a lot of candy.
Not creepy at all.
Yeah, no.
Not creepy at all.
Okay, Brian. Weirdo. Okay.
I need to share, speaking of costumes and Brian, one year, my wife and I used to go to Dickens Fest in San Francisco.
Yes, Cow Palace.
When we were living up there.
Yes.
We were living near San Francisco.
I love that place.
And we showed up one year, and Brian was there. The thing is, everyone kind of dresses up like Dickens style, like old-timey and, whatever, Victorian. Brian shows up dressed like Captain Kirk, and he said, I'm Captain Kirk when he travels back in time to the Victorian era. And it was amazing. He was just like decked out. And it was honestly, I was dying laughing. But that's Brian for you. That's what Brian does. He shows up to Dickens Fest dressed as Captain Kirk.
Yep.
That's how much he likes Star Trek.
Yep.
Loves Star Trek, I would say.
Yep. I did that for Ren Fair and I did it for Dickens Fair. And that is, I need to reconstitute my Kirk Halloween costume. It was one of the things that got lost within the last little bit here due to things. So I need to get it.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun. I run, once I reach a certain level of inebriated, I start running through the streets or whatever it is in Dickens Fair or Ren Fair, shouting if anybody's seen Spock. I did it all.
Okay, so at some point, I hope we'll all find ourselves back at Dickens Fest. If that's the case, I will dress up as Spock, and we will create a scene in front of everybody.
Yeah, I will. Oh God, dude, that's appearing as Kirk at those things is like my love language. All right, we talked about.
We're there.
Yeah, we're there.
Yeah.
We talked about this episode just being like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's almost an hour.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
So I will say, just to wrap it up and kind of bring it all around, I think for Halloween, I should go as Romantic Vader.
Ooh, I like it.
Just like he's just trying to
Weekend Vader.
Weekend Vader. I'm trying to decide, is it Weekend Vader or Romantic Vader? Yeah, I don't know.
Question.
I don't know.
I think there's room for both.
Yeah.
So you got to pick one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned, everybody.
One last thing too. We have a lot of really cool stuff up on our store. We got a new hoodie. It's pretty sweet on there. We got stickers for every monster. We'll have a new sticker for our Monster Slayer at some point soon. We got some hats. We got some t-shirts. We even have a long sleeve for Burnout. It's got flames down the sleeve. Super excited about that because it's just a fun way for us to really celebrate the awesome artwork that Kevin has been creating for us. But we're going to try to figure out a really cool way to, Brian is showing me his his eyeball pencil T-shirt right now. That's the staple. We're getting some requests for putting that eyeball pencil on more things like a hat. So stay tuned. We may have one of those, but we'd really like to figure out a way to make sure some of our proceeds are going to a really cool charity. And I think we may start working with Art with a Heart, and that is an organization that a company called Inch by Inch, which a lot of designers are probably familiar with it, but Inch by Inch is just a really cool company. They make a lot of cool products, primarily pins, and they team up with a lot of really cool artists. And Art with a Heart is something that they work with. Basically, their mission, Art with a Heart's mission, is to what they have is enhance the lives of people in need through visual art. Something that's just really simple. It's not, overly specific to design, but I know that for myself, and I think a lot of people that are in this sort of creative career, whether it's UX design, whether it's film, graphic design, writing, we probably had some sort of artistic experience that a lot of people don't have access to. And I think, more than just empowering someone in their career and their professional life, I think it just does a lot of good for mental health and well-being. And so we're trying to find something that we can really sync up with and make sure that if we're taking anything, if we're taking money from people for making this merch, we want to make sure that we're trying to funnel some of it to a really cool organization. So stay tuned for that. We'll let you know who we're going to specifically start working with. But whether it's Art with a Heart or not, you should check them out. It's artwithaheart.net and give to them directly. Find out how you can help them, because they're a really amazing organization.
Fuck yes. All right. Yeah. Well, with that, folks, we're going to leave you. Please fare thee well. Take the Monster Slayer Sølver with you into your battles.
Yes.
Yes. And please, we invite you to think, how does Darth Vader fuck? I mean, how does the Sølver help you?
Yes.
We will see you next month.
Next season. Season 2.
Season 1.
November.
6 episodes. Season 2.
Yep.
Six episodes. I almost lost count. I don't do math. Okay. All right.
All right.
Be well, everybody.